Well, folks, in today's video we're going to be restoring this locomotive. This is a Tyco Spirit of 76. I bought this locomotive at an antique shop sometime in the summer of 2018, and it was in working order when I got it. It wasn't working very well, mind you, but I got it working. But now it's not working so well. It barely moves, and despite the name Power Torque, these motors are not very high torque. So something's jammed it up. I'll show you guys how it runs. It does run, but not very well. There's something stuck in the gearbox, I think, but we'll get it working. So we've got her all set up on the track, and as you can see, if we give this thing some power, it does move, but it's very, very slow. And it's making a bit of an unusual noise. And this is not a weak controller. This is a 19-volt controller. This thing should be flying. So we're gonna take her apart and see if we can resolve whatever's giving it so much drag. So to take this thing apart, there's usually 3 screws on here. In this case, I guess maybe it was a later model. They only put 1, which I find a little unusual, but that's what they did. And okay, they put a couple extra clips, I forgot about that. How do we take this off? Okay, so you just put a flathead screwdriver in here and you just pry up a little bit and it will come out. And I assume we do that on both sides. And here we are inside. Let's take out all the wheel sets. Always check these for dust and hair. These have some really old lubricant on them. I might remove that. And yeah, it doesn't look like I ever changed the lubricant that was in this. Somebody put some sort of grease in here. Grease is not good for gearboxes. Now that we've got all the wheels and whatnot out of the way, we're going to try to attempt to take this out. Let's see if we can maybe pull this out of here. After a little bit of fiddling with the tabs, we've got the whole motor block out. This is a very unusual design motor block, to be honest. Definitely not prototypical. That looks like one of the handrails. It was on one of the motor tabs. That's weird. Let's try giving this thing some power. So I've got my test leads, I got it hooked up to my lifelike controller. What I quickly did off camera was I just undid one of the leads there, and I just shot a little bit of rubbing alcohol basically right onto the commutator, and I think there's a bit of grease on the commutator, and it will just help get that out of the way. I could take it out and clean it, but this should do a fine job. You can hear there, yep. It's revving low, you can hear it starting to rev higher now. It's going to take probably about a minute for the alcohol to burn off, but once it does, it's going to run quite healthy. Now, to clean out the bearings, we're using some Q-tips, which have been soaked in alcohol. I'll just twist them around. And oh yeah, it's lifting out a lot of dirt. I thought I had taken this thing apart and lubricated it, but now that I'm thinking about it, I might have only taken it apart while I was in Maine and I had no lubricants down there. Look at all the grease that just came out of those bearings. And we'll just clean up all the grease around here. Just put some alcohol. Yeah, maybe there is some dust and hair in here. I don't know. That kind of on the end there. It's not a lot, but it's there, and that's definitely not helping out the motor. So we need to get all that out. Ew. These 2 gears seem to be doing okay, so I'm not going to bother taking them off, because taking them off the pinion gear there can cause issues, so that's something you kind of want to avoid unless it's running really badly. In this case, this locomotive doesn't seem to have actually run all that much. Just everything's in quite good condition on the inside. We're going to put a bit of lubricant on the side with the commutator, and you can tell which side has the commutator because the brushes are here. Only put a little bit of lubricant because if you put a lot, it could leak down into the commutator and it will burn, which is I think what's going on in this case. So we'll just put a little drop over each of the gears and a little down there. And we're just going to let it run, let the lubricants sink in. We'll turn down the power. We don't need a lot of power. We actually want it to just turn out at a low speed because it will allow the lubricants to sink in, but it will not throw them all off. You can already, like, that's a fraction of the power, and you can see it's already revving quite a bit healthier. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now let's start reassembling this thing. Actually, before we reassemble it, let me clean these gears off. Now, I know some of you guys like these kind of macro type shots where I clean up the parts, get all the grime off them. So, here's that scene. You can see this is some pretty bad stuff. Okay, and we'll just put a little bit of alcohol over that. Oh boy. That is pretty bad. Here's some shot of the gear after I did some more extensive cleaning. You can see it's quite a bit better. So let's reinstall it. And before we completely reassemble it, I'm just going to clean up any grease around the wheel, the axles of the wheels. This one, yeah, this one's definitely the worst. But it's coming off. So we've got all the axles clean. Now we can start reassembling this. I'll start by putting this piece in, which shouldn't, in theory, be too hard, although it can be with these old Tycos. They're just a little unpredictable sometimes. Those wires are going too much that way, I think. There we go. Always check to make sure these can turn freely. Now, for putting this back together, we'll put our gear back on. Actually, we'll put some oil on it first. And as always, just put a very little amount. You just need like just a little, it's basically residue. Thin layer. You don't even really want to drop because it will just create more resistance, which will just put more strain on your motor. Now for each bearing, do the exact same thing, just a very thin layer of oil. And I say this for all ring field type motors, pancake motors, put oil. They don't need grease. Grease is really for things that have high resistance, so in any old Tyco power torques, just put oil. Light oil can work pretty well. There we go. Let's go test this thing. It's very tricky to say. I'm not sure if this thing is still going to be sluggish for a bit, or if it's going to be good right away. It might take a bit for the lubricants to get in, but I think it's already slightly better. Let's let her run around a bit, see if it revs higher. Well, it's now a couple minutes later, and it's revving, I think, much higher. Kind of hard to tell, because it, I think, has progressed slowly, but it looks like it's going, what I would say is quite a bit faster. I mean, the truth is, if we're gonna have, a locomotive with horn hook couplers, we may as well hook it up to some rolling stock, see what kind of pulling capacity we've got on this thing. Will she derail? Probably. Yeah. Oh yeah, this thing's towing now. Whoops. Okay, train put back together. Like I just gave it a little too much throttle on the curve, but yeah, I mean, this thing's towing. It's not even at full power, and you can see it's pulling this relatively big train without any issues. Yeah, it's, there we go, half power right there. Let's try to amp her up a little. Yeah, oops. Yeah, you can't go too fast with these old cars. The wheels are a bit too uneven, but she does pull. Well, folks, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm really happy that we finally got this thing back up and running, and I think it's going to be a popular item once again in the live streams. So, thanks for watching.